In surveillance news, Meta is facing a fresh backlash after a coalition of 75 organizations sent an open letter on April 13, urging it to halt reported plans to add facial recognition to its Ray-Ban and Oakley smart glasses. The push follows news reports about an internal feature known as, quote, name tag that could identify people in view through Meta platforms. Meta told Wired it does not currently offer that product and said it would be thoughtful before any rollout. Broadly speaking, the main concerns the community has about this kind of technology are the obvious ones. They include the ease with which this kind of tech can be repurposed for stalking or used to harass critics and activists that powerful people happen to dislike. It would also hand governments another tool for tracking the movements of ordinary people, making it easier for bad actors inside the state to target not just the enemies of the people, but more to the point, enemies of the state. But for the record, LGBTQI vulnerability to tech-enabled mistreatment was an especially prominent focus of the specific backlash expressed in yesterday's letter, and the risks to transgender people in particular seem to be at the forefront of the conversation. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, draft documents and internal policy papers point to a more centralized surveillance system taking shape. The plans reportedly include state-run data exchanges overseen by the Public Security Ministry, along with wider electronic ID systems and more AI-powered cameras. Realistically, this could have some benefits if it aids the under-resourced Vietnamese law enforcement community in policing serious wrongdoing. Nevertheless, in a one-party state with a long record of punishing dissent, this looks less like modernization and more like the state tightening its grip on the small number of people still quietly calling for real democracy. Thus, on the whole, the long-term effect on Vietnam's future trajectory will likely be negative. And in India, the Supreme Court has signalled that biometric and facial recognition checks at polling booths could be considered for future elections, even though the judges said the idea cannot be used in the current vote. The risks here are the usual ones: false matches, technical failures, wrongful exclusion, and the danger that a system built in the name of election security could later be used for broader tracking and state control. But the possible benefits also need to be factored in. Historically, India has had real election fraud and election malpractice problems. The classic examples are booth capturing, rigging, impersonation, and flawed voter rolls. If biometric data could be used to address some of these issues, it could lead to fairer elections and result in an overall more robust democracy. At the same time, once voting is tied more closely to biometric systems, the burden of mistakes falls on ordinary citizens, so any reform of this kind would need very strong safeguards to be worth the risks. This has been Hero to Zero News. Subscribe to stay up to date with privacy, accountability, and citizen rights stories as they unfold.